I'm Demetrius Malbro, host of Veritas Live, and today we will discuss the shared responsibility model and how to tackle the challenges of data observability and also securing that data in a multi-cloud infrastructure from services like Microsoft 365 and also Teams. So tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Because we love to see all of the different and diverse locations. Also, be sure to submit your questions in the chat box using hashtag Veritas Live. That's hashtag Veritas Live. And now to introduce our guest speakers. We have Saurabh, who's an Azure Senior Product Manager at Microsoft. And we also have Paul, who's a Veritas Alta Product Manager as well. So let's go ahead and break the ice here by asking a question that only our guest will know the response to. All right, so Saurabh, if you could
Hey,
only...
Demetrius.
Hey, if you could only have one app on your phone, what would that app be?
Oh, wow. When you ask me that question, I think about all the apps I have on my phone, and I sometimes don't know which app to use for what because there are just so many of them. So maybe the one app that I want is the app that I tell, much like, something like ChatGPT. Here's what I want to do, and it fishes out what app I need in what context and just gets the job done. I guess that would be the app. And this is, by the way, assuming that calling somebody and messaging somebody does not require to be an app.
All right. Sounds like you need to write some code for that app because I don't know if it exists. Paul, what would that app be for you, Paul?
Sure. So I'm going to go with an existing app. So when I'm not doing storage and data protection stuff, my hobby is kind of making stuff and do-it-yourselfer kind of activities. So when I'm making something or fixing something, I always have a YouTube video kind of walking me through it so that I get it right the first time. So hands down for me, it would be YouTube.
Nice. We have something in common, my friend, because it's definitely YouTube for me. All right, let's move right along here. So a little information. So in the recent Veritas and Vanson Bourne research, only 6% of IT professionals surveyed understood the cloud service providers' shared responsibility model. Now, the CSP is responsible for the cloud infrastructure, and you as the customer are responsible for securing and backing up your applications and your data. And so hopefully we will be able to add more clarity today with our guest speakers. So let's get into it now with our very first question. All right, Saurabh, this question is at you. So are you surprised by the research results around understanding the shared responsibility model? And also, how does this compound the challenges around business and cyber resiliency?
That is a great question, Demetrius. In fact, when you were mentioning the stat that it's 6%, I did actually quite literally fall off my chair because I was like, wow, the number is so low. And it does not surprise me because of, when we speak to customers, I guess the way the speed at which digital transformation is happening, the choices that IT pros have to make in the fast-moving world, that is one primary concept that a lot of pros, a lot of executives tend to take for granted, right? Hey, we are moving to an optimized, automated infrastructure. All our data applications are protected, and that the implication of that is there are a lot of blind spots in terms of what are the critical data sources and applications that one needs to protect. The fundamental thing to remember, whether you are on premises, hybrid, PaaS or SaaS customer, your data, your endpoints, your account, and their access management is always with you, and you are responsible for those things, making sure they have the right level of access and they're backed up, as you said, Demetrius, in the right way. And I think this primary sort of fundamental shared responsibility model and its understanding is super important in today's world where ransomware attacks are at large. There are multiple regulatory compliance requirements, sovereignty requirements, and residency requirements. Knowing where your data lives, knowing what is sensitive data, and protecting that sensitive data is completely the responsibility of the IT professional, of the customer, of the end user of that data.
Nice. Paul, would you like to add something to that? I'm sure you would like to.
I would love to. Thanks, Demetrius. Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement with Saurabh on this. I'm kind of shocked and baffled by the number, really for two main reasons. One, the ramifications of not knowing that are so severe and getting worse all the time when you think about the threat landscape today versus even 5 years ago. So getting that wrong is costly. And then secondly, the information has really been there. The CSPs have been very transparent. Many of us, in the vendor community have sort of made it our mission over the last 5 to even 10 years to really help our customers and the community at large understand the responsibility model and where we can help with that. And so I sort of take it as a stern warning to myself that there's a lot more work that needs to be done there.
Well, nice. And it looks like Saurabh has a fan club in the chat window there. I see little fire emojis and thumbs up and man.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm embarrassed, but mostly I'm honored to be joining the both of you. You both are veterans in this field. And as Paul was calling out, I think there is one shared responsibility model for the customer, but I think the vendor landscape together, I think platform providers and data protection providers like Veritas have a tremendous opportunity to essentially help customers, and that's what I'm super excited about as well.
Yeah, and absolutely, it's all about having that visibility into all of the data that's in your environment, and also making sure that you have a backup strategy as well. And so that moves us into the second question. And Paul, I think you might be slated for this one first here. So what do enterprise organizations need to consider when they are planning how to, let's say, fortify their backup strategy, especially from areas of data observability to the granularity of backups? Paul.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love that terminology, fortify the backups, because, backups, rewinding back in time was, 100% about recoverability. So now we have all of this data. So, okay, it's a great insurance policy in case something bad happens, but what else can I do with it? And I think you really hit on a key point with data observability. And that right now is such a kind of a key area of exploration and innovation. And I think what organizations really need to think about in that space is, how can you, make data inherently more observable? And I think as a starting point, I think the consolidation, centralization and consolidation of metadata. So we've sort of given up on the idea of centralizing and consolidating data because of multi-cloud and heterogeneity and hybrid cloud. All of those things make it, no one is going to put all their data in one place, but centralizing metadata and giving you that global visibility. So now the data becomes just inherently observable. Now you can build tools on top of that to really take advantage of that just foundational observability. And I think the other point that you made about or question around granularity, I think there's a couple aspects of that. So once you can observe at a metadata level, sometimes that's enough to answer the inquiry at hand. And sometimes it's not, you need to go a little bit deeper. So now what's the kind of happy medium between a metadata view and now having to go and do a full data restoration to see into the data? Well, the sort of halfway point is I can either restore just the portion that I need, so granular restore, or even better yet, I can have a lens into that backup data, presenting it as native data that gives me the ability to take a sneak peek into that data set without going through the overhead of a restore activity. So that makes the granularity really a key value.
Awesome. And it's best to be able to take a sneak peek into that data before something happens, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Proactively doing that. Absolutely.
I agree. And Saurabh, what about you? I'm sure you have some nice tidbits to add here.
Well, I think Paul was amazing at articulating, just the importance of getting that visibility of what is essentially, distributed across all these different infrastructures. And I think Paul, hit one point absolutely, in an amazing way, which is, the metadata centralization is important. Because if you think about centralizing data, that's going to be a Herculean task that never happens. And as data exponentially grows, I was reading a stat somewhere that it is going to go into zettabytes of unstructured data by 2025. So just 2 years from now, we're talking about a zettabytes, I think 171 zettabyte or so is the stat there that I've heard. And if you think about that large sort of volume of data, there is no way that you can potentially, expect to go through each bit and byte of data to know what is where and what is important. And so having the right kind of infrastructure to be able to glean that metadata and to be able to reason on that metadata with intelligence as your data changes and evolves is going to be critical. And I think Paul mentioned that point extremely well. The one thing that I would add, though, is there is also the requirement of understanding how quickly you can recover. And I think the recovery drill aspect of it, with something that customers tend to find very difficult because, like Paul said, getting the data back, restoration takes time. Knowing what are the various means of restoration and going through all of them takes time. But there's a bunch of great automation with the power of SaaS that makes it possible to not only see what's in the data, but also make it extremely quickly discoverable and recoverable for the rainy day scenarios, right? So when a ransomware attack strikes, you will not find yourself scrambling because your systems are up and running. Veritas has got your back. And that's because of the fact that there is this automated centralization of the metadata on the Veritas SaaS platform that allows you to essentially go back and quickly recover your data when you need it. And to be able to do that, if you're performing a drill, so that you've tested that whatever you have as backup works when you need it to work.
All right, Saurabh, I think I have an idea for a new t-shirt. Veritas has your, and then on the back of it, I'll have back. Veritas has your back. All right.
Wow.
I'll send you one first.
I would love that t-shirt. Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about like what's in it for the customer. Let's make it super clear that anyone out there listening right now really, really, really understand what the benefits are, especially when it comes to unlocking when they can incorporate a robust backup and recovery service with their, let's say, Microsoft SaaS and Azure solutions. And that's it's knocked down your way, Saurabh.
All right. Thank you for the question, Demetrius. I love the question. I think, if I were to go back to the first principles that I was talking about, which is what do you own as a customer? You own the data, you own the endpoint, you own the account, and you own the access management. A lot of those things, are essentially covered from a platform perspective by Microsoft 365. So it gives you, your ability to manage the applications. It's got some, fundamental foundational protection built into it in the form of resilience. But you still are responsible for making sure that that data is protected. And what we see is Azure, which is also part of the broader Microsoft cloud, is the preferred place or the preferred destination for customers to put that data. One, because it's compatible. Second, it offers a certain level of platform capabilities around resilience, around immutability, around the geographical region coverage. So wherever you are in the world, you have close to 68 regions to choose from as to where your data lives and where your backups live, and to make sure that meets your residency requirements, your sovereignty requirements. And then we have a great landscape of vendors, and I think we have some very, very interesting integrations, especially from Veritas, in terms of making sure that infrastructure across M365 teams, all the APIs that are available from those two SaaS solutions, as well as the APIs for the data plane on Azure are built together for the customer to consume in a very easy way, right? And Paul was mentioning this, consolidation of metadata. I think Veritas does that extremely well with the power of the fundamental platform capabilities provided around M365 Teams and Azure. And I think, to go back to your point on fortification, those platform capabilities allow your backups to be in a different fault domain, separated from your production M365 environment. They ensure that those are immutable, those are discoverable, and you can set the retention policy, the backup policy, and the long-term retention policy that is tuned to your own organizational compliance needs. So I think that's a very powerful combination for customers to quickly take advantage of. And I think delivered with the power of SaaS, it's just super simple to sort of get this running and working to ensure your data is protected wherever you are.
Well, awesome. And I see Paul just like itching to
jump at the bit. Absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, just to add a little bit to what Saurabh said, and absolutely agree with those comments. And I think really a couple of the key areas where a customer and a partner can work together to really embrace and extend the capabilities of the cloud platform. Azure has a very robust tool set for data management, data protection. So what can we do additionally to that? I think Saurabh mentioned the consolidation of metadata. So you've got now multi-cloud, hybrid cloud environments, and these become much more manageable with a consolidated set of metadata. Then a consistent recovery interface. So being able to go have the same person run through essentially the same sequence of steps to recover data for whatever use case on whatever platform, whether it's Azure or something back on premises in the data center, having that same recovery interface pays dividends because no more cross-training, no more siloed teams having to do this. You've got a consistent process over this consistent interface. And then I think, thirdly, I would add to that storage savings, right? So one of the key battlegrounds over the last really 2 decades in data protection has been the storage optimization, storage tiering management, deduplication, snapshotting, and things like that. So you've got the right technology in place to achieve the recovery point and recovery time objectives, but yet driving down the cost savings. And we have been able to really see dramatic cost savings by applying the right technology in the right place on the right platform. So that's I think a key area where these partnerships can really add a lot of value.
Well, awesome. And it looks like I want to give the audience an opportunity to ask some questions as well. It looks like there is one question, but it may be like an HR type question and not qualified to answer.
No, I'm not taking it.
You know what? I think I'm going to take a stab at it because I am only a couple months into my position here at Veritas as well. And so the question is that, are there any opportunities for Veritas Net Backup? So I guess it's a hiring question. So I'll act maybe like HR for just one moment. So yes, so I recommend that you go out to our website and take a look at the careers out there. We are still actively hiring for lots of different opportunities as well. And Paul, I'm not sure if you want to add something and maybe
Sure.
put a plug in from your side, from product management or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the key areas just in general overall where we're investing would be, certainly cloud knowledge, capabilities, experience, both on the kind of product side, innovation side, as well as cloud operations. So with all of the as a service offerings you're seeing from Veritas now, this is going to be an area over the next year where you'll see, considerable growth and investment.
Well, awesome. And just before we begin to wrap up here, Saurabh, let me give you a moment if you have any shout outs or last remarks. You want to, publicize something. Maybe you've written a blog post or something. I'm not sure, but go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Demetrius. Well, I would just say thank you to all the viewers, for joining us today. And I think if I were to leave you with one comment, I would say prioritize defense in depth, prioritize zero trust, ensure that you verify explicitly, ensure that you have the least privilege model for access to your most important crown jewels, which is your data, your sensitive data. And finally, assume breach and choose the right partners in that assume breach approach that you have to protect, fortify, and ensure you have recoverability of that data. And I can tell you that my experience leveraging Veritas solutions has been amazing. And I think the work that we are all doing together here, and I'm so thankful for that, Paul, there are a bunch of folks who I would give shout outs to, Lisa Erickson, who's probably on this chat as well, Chris Mancebo, a bunch of others on the Veritas team who we work with very closely on a weekly basis. In fact, sometimes on a daily basis, solving those problems together and coming up with innovative solutions that leverage the power of Azure, the great sort of leadership in the backup recovery and data protection space that Veritas has had to bring, I would say, enduring benefits to customers in every single industry there is, that makes everybody productive and achieve more, which is also the motto and the mission of Microsoft. So thank you so much for having me, Demetrius and Paul.
Absolutely. We're not done yet, so please make sure you continue to stay
All right.
around. All right. I'm just giving an opportunity for shout outs before I forget. So Paul, what about you?
Sure. Shout out to Saurabh. It's really been a pleasure. I would also ditto the shout outs that Saurabh made. That team I spent a lot of time with, and I feel really privileged to be in this organization now, working with the partners that I get to work with.
And it also looks like a question came in around, let's see, can you explain how deduplication works and what resources it conserves? So I'll take a stab at that. So I am an old school guy, and dedupe for me is primarily saving the storage cost. So for example, if let's say you have an organization and everyone's sending a PowerPoint presentation via email, and the backup system doesn't have to back up the number of employees that actually get that particular PowerPoint presentation, that particular copy. Instead of backing up, let's say 1,000, you only capture that one, and you also take those savings to the bank. So that's primarily like the simplest answer for deduplication. So you're saving on storage, you're saving cost, and it's just a super, super awesome way to really make sure your backup solution also takes advantage of a technology like deduplication. All right, so also before we wrap up as well, so visit Veritas at HIMSS, and that's in Chicago. That's between April the 18th and the 20th, so it's fast approaching. And also you can find us at booth 7906, where you can check out some of our live presentations or our healthcare solution demos as well. We're also going to KubeCon in Amsterdam, so stop by our booth there. That's D3, and that's April 18th through the 21st. Also, if you're at RSA, that's fast approaching as well, April 24th through the 27th in the Bay Area in San Francisco. And Veritas will be at the Kyndryl booth number 1467, participating at several meet and greet sessions on cyber incident recovery. Also, we have a blog post and a podcast that talk about the shared responsibility model if you'd like to have more details about that. And that will be linked below in the show notes as well. So thank you to everyone who took the time to watch. Join us for the next episode of Veritas Live. That's on May 2nd, right here on LinkedIn. So until then, stay secure and back up often.